I stared at the text message on my phone, feeling like someone had punched me in the gut. My mother wrote, "Please don't bring your kids this year. They're too loud for Christmas." My 7-year-old daughter Lily was leaning against my shoulder, her eyes widening as she read the words. "Grandma hates us?" she whispered, her voice breaking. I knelt down, looking into her eyes while forcing a smile. "No, honey. Grandma just forgot who feeds her." I texted back a single word. "Understood." As family photos flooded my phone showing the elaborate table I funded, they had no idea what awaited them. The kitchen was quiet, except for the sound of Ashley chopping vegetables. I watched her from the doorway, hesitating to share the message that had left me feeling hollow inside. At 38, I'd built a successful construction company, provided for my family, and made sure my mother was taken care of since my father passed away 6 years ago. Now this text had thrown everything into question. "You're staring," Ashley said without looking up. "What's wrong?" I handed her my phone. Her expression shifted from confusion to rage as she read the message. "Your mother is unbelievable," she said, putting down the knife with more force than necessary. "After everything you do for her? She doesn't want Lily and Tyler at Christmas because they're too loud? They're 5 and 7, for God's sake. That's what kids do." I took a deep breath. "I know. What did you say back? Please tell me you told her off." "I just said, understood." Ashley's eyes widened. "That's it? Silas, you can't be serious. You're just going to accept this? Your brother and his wife will be there with their perfect silent children while we sit at home." I could hear Lily and Tyler playing in the living room. Their laughter, normally a source of joy, now made my chest tighten. How could my mother reject her own grandchildren? "They're not disobedient," Ashley continued, her voice rising. "They're normal, happy kids. And it's Christmas. She's their grandmother." "I know," I said again, my voice level. "Trust me, I'm not happy about this either." Ashley studied my face. "You're too calm. What are you thinking?" I pulled out a chair and sat down at our kitchen table. "Dave and Pamela will be there." "Your brother and his wife?" "Of course they will. With their kids who apparently aren't too loud." I opened my phone gallery and scrolled through recent photos from Thanksgiving. "Look at this dining table. The new furniture. The renovations in the background. Your mom finally redecorated. What about it?" "She didn't pay for any of it," I said quietly. Ashley sat down across from me, her anger momentarily replaced by confusion. "What do you mean?" I pulled up my banking app and showed her the transactions. "I've been paying her mortgage for 4 years. I paid for the renovations last summer. I gave her money for that table. She told me your Aunt Caroline helped her with all that." I shook my head. "Caroline hasn't contributed a dime. Mom doesn't want anyone to know I'm helping." Ashley's expression softened. "Silas, you never told me it was this much money." I scrolled further back in the transactions. "It's not just Mom. Dave lost his job 2 years ago. I've been helping him and Pamela too. Their car payment, their kids' private school tuition." "What? But they always act so superior?" "Yeah, that's the deal. They take the money but pretend they don't need it. And now they're having Christmas dinner at a table I bought, in a house I maintain, while my kids aren't welcome." Ashley leaned back in her chair, processing this information. "Why keep it a secret from me? I didn't want to burden you with it. And honestly, I was embarrassed. My own brother can't admit he needs help. My mother pretends her financial stability is from good planning rather than her son's support." Ashley reached across the table for my hand. "So what's the plan? Because I know that—" "Look, you're planning something." I squeezed her hand. "I'm done being the family ATM who gets no respect. I'm done letting them treat our children like they're not good enough." I pulled another folder from my bag and laid it on the table. "And there's something else they don't know." "What's that?" 3 years ago, when the bank was threatening to foreclose on Mom's house, I didn't just make payments. I bought the mortgage outright. The house is technically mine." Ashley's eyes widened. "You own your mother's house? Does she know?" "No. I never told her because I didn't want her to feel like a failure. I wanted her to keep her dignity. But now she's using that house to exclude my children on Christmas. That changes everything." Ashley's expression shifted from shock to a slow smile. "So, what exactly are you planning to do?" I'm still working on that, I replied, my mind already turning over possibilities. But one thing's for certain. This Christmas isn't going to go the way they expect. The next morning I found Lily sitting at her small desk, carefully coloring a homemade Christmas card. Her tongue poked out between her teeth as she concentrated on staying inside the lines. "Who's that for, Princess?" I asked, though I already knew the answer. "Grandma," she said without looking up. "Even if we can't go to her house, I want her to have a nice card." I felt a surge of pride mixed with heartache. My daughter still wanted to spread joy to someone who had rejected her. The unfairness of it all made my jaw clench. "That's very kind of you," I managed to say. My phone buzzed. Another text from my mother. "Dave and Pamela are bringing their famous apple pie. Caroline is coming after all. It's going to be wonderful." I put the phone away without responding. Caroline had told me she was traveling abroad for the holidays when I'd called to ask if she could help with Mom's expenses this month. Another lie in a growing collection. Tyler bounded into the room carrying his toy truck. "Dad, when are we going to Grandma's house?" Before I could answer, Lily spoke up. "We're not going this year, dummy. Grandma doesn't want us there." Tyler's face fell. "But what about presents? Grandma always has presents." I knelt down to his level. "We're going to have our own special Christmas right here, buddy. And there will be plenty of presents, I promise." He nodded, but the disappointment in his eyes cut through me like a knife. My phone rang. It was my lawyer, Stan Peterson. "I need to take this," I told the kids, stepping into my home office and closing the door. "Silas, I've reviewed everything," Stan said. "The deed is clear. You're the legal owner of the property. Your mother has been living there under an informal arrangement, but legally speaking, you have every right to be there." "What about the power of attorney paperwork I mentioned?" "If your brother David has power of attorney over your mother's affairs, that doesn't affect your ownership of the house. But if you're concerned about financial impropriety, we should discuss that further. Do you have evidence?" "Just suspicions for now," I replied, "but I'm working on it." "Thanks, Stan. I'll keep you posted." After hanging up, I called my accountant and asked him to compile all records of payments I'd made to or on behalf of my mother and brother over the past 5 years. The total was going to be substantial. When I emerged from my office, Ashley was waiting with a cup of coffee. "Financial battle stations?" she asked, nodding toward the office. "Just covering all bases," I replied, taking the coffee gratefully. "Silas, what exactly are you planning? We're supposed to be thinking about what to tell the kids about Christmas, and instead you're in there making calls to lawyers and accountants." I took her hand and led her to our bedroom where the kids wouldn't overhear. "Remember that underwater mortgage I told you about? The one I took over for Mom?" "Yes. You said you bought it from the bank when they were threatening foreclosure. What I didn't mention is that I paid it off completely last year." Ashley's eyes widened. "You own the house free and clear? Silas, that must have cost a fortune." "It did. But I wanted Mom to be secure. I was planning to transfer the deed to her name as a gift once Dave got back on his feet and could help with her ongoing expenses. But now I'm thinking about a different kind of Christmas gift." I pulled out the deed from my desk drawer and showed it to Ashley. "This house isn't just a financial investment. It's my childhood home. My father built parts of it with his own hands. And now my mother is using it to exclude our children." Ashley studied my face. "So what's the plan?" "We're going to her house for Christmas dinner." "But she specifically said—" "I know what she said. But it's my house. We're going." "You're going to tell her that you own her home on Christmas Day? Isn't that a bit nuclear?" I sighed, running my hand through my hair. "I don't want to embarrass her. That's never been my goal. But I can't let this stand. I can't let my kids think they're not good enough for their own grandmother." Ashley sat on the edge of our bed, considering. "What if there's more to this than we know? Your mother has always doted on the kids before. This seems so out of character." "That's what bothers me too," I admitted. "Mom has always been passive-aggressive, but this is different. It feels like someone else's influence." "Dave and Pamela? Possibly. Or Caroline. Something isn't adding up." My phone buzzed again with another group text. This time it was a photo of the Christmas tree at my mother's house, loaded with presents underneath. I recognized the ornaments I'd bought her last year, each one chosen specifically because they reminded me of happy childhood memories. They keep rubbing it in, I muttered, showing Ashley the photo. Look at the presents. I bet half of those were purchased with money I gave her. Ashley squeezed my arm. So what now? Now I make some more calls, gather some more information, and prepare for a Christmas my family won't forget. I didn't tell Ashley the rest of my plan. I didn't tell her about the meetings I'd scheduled with the directors of 3 different senior living communities, or about the realtor I'd asked to evaluate the market value of my mother's house. Some things were better kept to myself until I was sure of my next move. Christmas Eve morning dawned bright and cold. I woke early and slipped out of bed, careful not to disturb Ashley. In the kitchen, I made coffee and checked my phone. 3 more texts had arrived overnight, all from the family group chat that I'd been conspicuously excluded from but that my cousin had been secretly forwarding to me. Dave, got the ham today. It's massive. Pamela, tree is perfect this year. Caroline brought ornaments from Europe. Mom, can't wait to see everyone tomorrow. Everything's ready. No mention of our absence. No acknowledgement that her grandchildren would be missing Christmas at Grandma's for the first time. It was as if we'd been completely erased. I heard a small noise and looked up to see Lily in her pajamas, clutching her stuffed rabbit. Morning, Dad, she yawned. Is it Christmas yet? Christmas Eve, I corrected gently. One more sleep until Santa comes. She climbed onto a kitchen stool. Are we really not going to see Grandma tomorrow? I hesitated, my plan solidifying in my mind. Would you still like to go? Her eyes lit up. Yes, but I thought Grandma said no. Sometimes adults change their minds, I said carefully. Let's wait and see. After breakfast, I retreated to my office while Ashley took the kids to the park. I spread out all the documents my accountant had sent over. The numbers were even more staggering when laid out chronologically. 4 years of mortgage payments, $120,000. Home renovation costs, $73,000. Final mortgage payoff, $206,000. Monthly stipend to my mother, $36,000 per year for 6 years. Loans to Dave and Pamela, $68,000 over 2 years. Private school tuition for their kids, $40,000 per year. None of it had ever been repaid. Not a single dollar. And not once had any of them publicly acknowledged my help. I'd done it because it was the right thing to do. After Dad died, Mom had been lost. Dave had struggled with keeping steady employment. I'd been the lucky one, building my construction business from the ground up, finding success while they floundered. It had felt like my responsibility to help. But this exclusion of my children was a step too far. I gathered the most important documents into a folder. The deed to the house, bank statements showing the payments, and the power of attorney form Mom had signed, giving me authority to act on her behalf if needed. I'd never used it, out of respect for her independence. Dave didn't know it existed. When Ashley returned with the kids, I called them all into the living room. I've made a decision, I announced. We are going to Grandma's house tomorrow. Tyler cheered, but Lily looked uncertain. But Grandma said no. Sometimes, I said carefully, adults make mistakes. I think Grandma made a mistake, and we're going to give her a chance to fix it. Ashley gave me a questioning look. I nodded slightly, letting her know I was committed to this course of action. We'll bring all our presents, I continued, and we'll be on our very best behavior, right? Both kids nodded solemnly. What if they shut the door in our faces? Ashley asked later, after the kids were in bed. They won't, I said confidently. Not when they see the kids all dressed up and excited. And if they try, I have the deed. Are you really going to play that card? Only if absolutely necessary. I'm hoping it doesn't come to that. Christmas morning arrived with the excited squeals of children discovering that Santa had indeed found our house. We opened presents, had a special breakfast, and then began preparing for our unannounced visit to Grandma's house. Ashley helped the kids dress in their nicest clothes. Lily wore the red velvet dress that Mom had actually bought her for this very occasion, and Tyler wore a little suit with a clip-on tie. They looked perfect. hardly the wild, disruptive children my mother had described. We loaded the car with presents and the side dishes Ashley had prepared. I placed my folder of documents in my briefcase, hoping I wouldn't need it. The drive to my mother's house took 40 minutes. As we pulled onto her street, I could see several cars already parked in the driveway. Dave's SUV, Pamela's luxury sedan, and an unfamiliar silver Lexus that I suspected belonged to my Aunt Caroline. "Are you sure about this?" Ashley asked one last time as I parked along the curb. "Absolutely," I replied, more certain than ever. "This is our family too." We unloaded the car, each of us carrying gifts and food. As we approached the front door, I could hear laughter and Christmas music inside. I took a deep breath and rang the doorbell. The door swung open, and there stood my brother Dave, a glass of wine in his hand and a stunned expression on his face. "Silas? What are you?" I thought. "Merry Christmas, Dave," I said calmly. "We brought presents." Before he could respond, my mother appeared behind him. She froze when she saw us, her hand rising to her throat. "What's going on?" came another voice, and then my Aunt Caroline stepped into view. My stomach dropped. Caroline was supposed to be in Europe. She'd explicitly told me she couldn't help with Mom's expenses because she was traveling for the holidays. Her eyes widened when she saw us. "Silas? And the children?" What a surprise. I maintained my composure despite the shock of seeing her there. Surprise indeed. "I thought you were in Europe, Aunt Caroline." She blinked rapidly. "Oh well, my plans changed at the last minute." "Clearly," I replied. "May we come in? It's cold out here." Dave started to say something, but my mother interrupted. "Of course, come in. I wasn't expecting you." "Clearly," I echoed, using Caroline's excuse against them. But plans change, don't they? We stepped inside, the warmth of the house, a stark contrast to the cold reception. The children, sensing the tension, stayed close to Ashley. "Grandma, we brought you presents," Lily said bravely, holding out a gift bag that contained her handmade card and a scarf she'd helped Ashley pick out. My mother took it automatically, her expression a mix of guilt and confusion. "Thank you, dear. That's very thoughtful." From the dining room, Pamela emerged. Her face hardened when she saw us. "What's going on?" I thought. "Change of plans," I said smoothly. "We decided family should be together at Christmas. All family." Pamela shot a look at my mother, something unspoken passing between them. In that moment, I knew with absolute certainty that Pamela had been behind the exclusion. The knowledge made my blood boil, but I kept my expression neutral. "Well," Dave said with forced joviality, "the more the merrier, right? Let me get some more chairs." As he disappeared into the dining room, Caroline approached me, lowering her voice. "Silas, this is awkward. Your mother specifically mentioned that the children were too loud." I finished for her. "Yes, I got that message. Strangely out of character for Mom, don't you think?" Caroline's eyes shifted away. "Well, I wouldn't know about that. Wouldn't you?" "Because I distinctly remember Mom always loving having the kids over. Until recently." Before Caroline could respond, my mother called us all to the table. Somehow, space was made for us, extra place settings hastily arranged. The children, perhaps sensing the importance of the moment, were on their absolute best behavior, using please and thank you without prompting. As we sat down to Christmas dinner at the table I had paid for, in the house I owned, I couldn't help but notice the expensive wine being poured, the new china plates, the crystal glasses, all funded by my generosity. Yet I'd been told my own children weren't welcome. But the most shocking revelation was yet to come. The tension around the dinner table was thick enough to cut with the carving knife Dave was using on the ham. My children sat quietly, almost unnaturally so, aware on some level that they needed to disprove the accusation of being too loud. Ashley kept giving me questioning glances, silently asking if and when I planned to confront the situation. "Everything looks lovely, Mom," I said, breaking the awkward silence. "The table setting is beautiful." "Thank you," she replied, not quite meeting my eyes. "Caroline helped with the arrangements." Caroline smiled tightly. "I have an eye for these things." "I'm sure you do," I said pleasantly. almost as good an eye as you have for travel. Europe at Christmas must be beautiful. When did your plans change? Caroline's smile faltered. Oh well, you know how these things go. Work commitments cleared up unexpectedly. How fortunate, I replied, taking a sip of wine. For everyone except my children, who were uninvited. Dave cleared his throat. Silas, maybe we shouldn't get into this right now. Get into what, Dave? The fact that my kids were specifically excluded from a family Christmas? Or the fact that Aunt Caroline supposedly couldn't help with Mom's expenses this month because she was traveling, yet here she is? An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. Tyler looked up at me with wide eyes, while Lily studied her plate intensely. Silas, my mother began, her voice strained. I just thought, with so many people already, and the children being so energetic. They're children, Mom. That's what children do. Your grandchildren, who love you and were heartbroken to think you didn't want them here. Pamela cut in, her voice sharp. There's nothing wrong with wanting a peaceful Christmas, Silas. Some of us appreciate a little tranquility. I turned to look at her directly. Is that right, Pamela? Is that why you suggested to Mom that the kids shouldn't come? Pamela's face flushed. I don't know what you're talking about. No? Because Mom has never had a problem with the kids before. This exclusion has your fingerprints all over it. Dave put down his knife with a clatter. That's enough, Silas. You can't just show up uninvited and start throwing accusations around. Uninvited to a house I own? The words slipped out before I could stop them. A stunned silence fell over the table. My mother's fork froze halfway to her mouth. What did you say? Dave asked, his voice dangerously low. I hadn't planned to reveal this so early, but there was no taking it back now. I said, uninvited to a house I own. Who do you think paid off the underwater mortgage 3 years ago? Who do you think has been paying for the property taxes, the insurance, the utilities? My mother put down her fork, her hand trembling slightly. Silas, please. No, Mom. I've kept quiet for years. I've paid bills, covered expenses, helped everyone at this table financially, without ever asking for acknowledgement or gratitude. But I draw the line at my children being treated like unwelcome intruders. Caroline spoke up, her voice sickly sweet. Silas, dear, I'm sure your mother appreciates your help, but that doesn't give you the right to. To what? Expect basic respect? To expect my children to be included in family gatherings? What exactly am I not entitled to, Aunt Caroline? You're making a scene, Pamela hissed, glancing at the children. No, you created this scene when you convinced my mother to exclude her own grandchildren from Christmas. Pamela's face contorted with anger. You've always been the favorite, haven't you? Golden boy Silas who can do no wrong. The successful one who gets to lord it over the rest of us. Lord it over you? Are you serious? I've been quietly supporting this entire family for years. We never asked for your charity, Dave snapped. Your private school tuition payments suggest otherwise, I countered. Or the car loan I covered when you were 3 months behind. Or the credit card debt I paid off last summer. Dave's face flushed red. That's different. That was temporary assistance during a rough patch. A rough patch that's lasted 2 years and counting. The children were watching this exchange with wide eyes. Ashley put her arm around Lily, who was beginning to look upset. Maybe we should take the kids to the other room, Ashley suggested quietly. Good idea, I agreed, grateful for her intervention. Why don't you take them to open some presents? After Ashley led the children away, I turned back to the adults at the table. Now we can speak freely. I want to know exactly why my children were excluded from Christmas. My mother looked down at her plate. Silas, it wasn't. I didn't mean. It was my idea, Pamela interjected, lifting her chin defiantly. Your kids are out of control, always running around, always demanding attention. Some of us wanted one holiday without the chaos. My children are perfectly normal, well-behaved kids. They're not even being loud right now, are they? Despite the tension in this room that they can definitely feel, that's just because they're on their best behavior today, Pamela argued. Last time they were here, Tyler broke that figurine. He accidentally knocked it over and then cried for 20 minutes because he felt so bad. He was 4 years old, Pamela. Accidents happen. My mother suddenly looked confused. What figurine? When was this? Dave and Pamela exchanged a glance. The porcelain ballerina, Mom, Pamela, explained slowly, as if talking to a child. From Grandma Catherine. Tyler broke it at Thanksgiving. My mother frowned. No, that's not right. That figurine is still on my shelf. Janet's daughter broke that years ago. An uncomfortable silence fell over the table. Janet was my grandmother, who had passed away decades ago. My mother had confused past and present. Mom, I said gently, are you feeling all right? Before she could answer, Dave cut in. She's fine. Just a little mix-up. It happens to everyone, but I could see from my mother's confused expression that this wasn't a simple slip of the tongue. Something was wrong. Mom, I tried again. What day is it today? She blinked rapidly. It's Christmas, of course. And who am I? She looked at me like I was the one confused. You're my son Silas. And those children in the other room, who are they? She hesitated, her brow furrowing. They're Dave's kids, aren't they? My heart sank. No, Mom. They're my children. Lily and Tyler. Your grandchildren. Dave stood up abruptly. That's enough, Silas. Mom's just tired. It's been a long day with all the preparations. This isn't tiredness, Dave. Something's wrong. How long has she been having memory problems? She doesn't have memory problems, Pamela insisted. She just gets confused sometimes. It's normal at her age. I looked at my mother, really looked at her, and noticed things I'd missed before. The slight vacancy in her eyes. The way she kept glancing at Dave for cues about how to respond. The tremble in her hands that wasn't just emotion. Mom, I said gently, have you seen a doctor recently? I take her to all her appointments, Dave said defensively. And what did the doctor say? When Dave didn't immediately answer, I knew. She's been diagnosed with something, hasn't she? And you didn't tell me. Caroline shifted uncomfortably in her seat. Silas, medical issues are private family matters. I am family, I said, my voice rising despite my efforts to stay calm. I'm her son. I have a right to know if my mother is ill. You're too busy with your perfect life and perfect family, Pamela snapped. Some of us actually have to deal with the day-to-day reality. While happily accepting my money to do so, I retorted. How convenient. It's mild cognitive impairment, Dave finally admitted. The doctor diagnosed it 6 months ago. It's not serious yet. 6 months ago? And you didn't think to tell me? We didn't want to worry you. Worry me? I'm her son, and I'm the one who's been paying for everything. Did it occur to you that I might want to be involved in her care decisions? My mother looked increasingly distressed. Please don't argue. It's Christmas. I softened my tone immediately. You're right, Mom. I'm sorry. I reached across the table and took her hand. I just want to make sure you're getting the best care possible. She squeezed my hand, a moment of clarity in her eyes. You always were such a good boy, Silas. Always taking care of everyone. That's what family does, Mom. Dave stood up, his chair scraping loudly against the floor. I need some air. As he left the room, Pamela glared at me. Now you've upset everyone. Are you happy? What makes me unhappy, Pamela, is discovering that my mother has a medical condition I wasn't informed about, while being excluded from Christmas under false pretenses. What makes me unhappy is realizing that my financial support has been taken for granted, while my children have been pushed aside. No one asked you to pay for everything, Caroline interjected. Actually, Dave did, repeatedly, and I've kept every text message, every email request, just like I've kept records of every payment I've made, including the checks I wrote to you, Aunt Caroline, when you said you needed help with medical bills last year, the same year you took that cruise to Alaska that you posted all over Facebook. Caroline's face paled. That's different. I paid you back. No, you didn't. Not a penny. Just like Dave hasn't repaid any of his temporary loans. Just like no one has acknowledged that I own this house outright. My mother looked confused again. This is my house. Your father and I bought it. Yes, Mom. And after Dad died and you were struggling with the payments, I took over the mortgage. Remember? I own it now, but I've let you live here because that's what family does. They take care of each other. Pamela stood up, pointing an accusing finger at me. So that's what this is about? You want gratitude? Recognition? A medal for being such a wonderful son and brother? What I want, I said evenly, is respect. For me and for my children. What I want is honesty about my mother's condition. What I want is for my financial support to not be taken advantage of while my family is treated like an afterthought. The room fell silent as the implications of my words sank in. And then, from the doorway, came a small voice. Dad, why is everyone fighting? Lily stood there, her Christmas dress slightly rumpled, her eyes wide with concern, and in that moment, looking at my daughter's innocent face, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I crossed the room and knelt before Lily, keeping my voice gentle. Sometimes adults have disagreements, sweetheart. Everything's going to be okay. Are you mad at Grandma? She asked, her voice small. No, honey. I'm not mad at Grandma. I'm just concerned about her. My mother approached slowly, her expression softening as she looked at Lily. For a moment, recognition flickered in her eyes. Such a pretty dress, she said. Is it new? Lily looked up at her, confused. You gave it to me, Grandma. For Christmas. My mother blinked rapidly. Did I? It's lovely. The exchange broke my heart. My mother truly didn't remember buying the dress just weeks ago. This wasn't just occasional confusion. Something was seriously wrong. Ashley appeared in the doorway, Tyler at her side. Is everything all right in here? We're just sorting some things out, I said, trying to sound reassuring. Why don't you take the kids to open some more presents? Actually, Ashley said with forced brightness, I think we should help clear the table. Kids, let's gather the plates. It was a transparent attempt to normalize the situation, and I was grateful for it. The children needed stability amid this chaos. As we cleaned up, Dave returned from outside. His face was flushed, either from the cold or from anger, I couldn't tell. We need to talk, I told him quietly. Privately, he nodded curtly and led me to our father's old study. The room was largely unchanged since Dad's death, preserved like a museum exhibit. Photos of our childhood lined the walls, including several of Dave and me fishing with our father. Look, Dave began defensively as soon as the door closed. I know you're upset about the kids being uninvited, but you have to understand. This isn't about that anymore, I interrupted. This is about Mom. I want to know exactly what the doctors have said. Dave sighed, the fight seeming to drain out of him. He sank into Dad's old leather chair. It started with little things, forgetting where she put her keys, missing appointments. Then she started mixing up names, dates. The doctor ran some tests. It's early-stage dementia. The confirmation hit me like a physical blow. Why didn't you tell me? Honestly, I didn't want to worry you, and I was handling it. Handling it by having her exclude her grandchildren from Christmas? By keeping me in the dark while still accepting my financial support? Dave had the grace to look ashamed. The Christmas thing. That wasn't about Mom's condition. That was Pamela. She thought it would be easier on Mom to have a quieter holiday. And you went along with it. Pamela can be persuasive. She manipulated Mom into excluding my children, her own grandchildren. Dave didn't deny it. Look, Silas, I know you're angry, and you have every right to be, but I've been the one here day after day, dealing with Mom's decline. You get to swoop in with your checkbook and then return to your perfect life. My perfect life includes working 60-hour weeks to support not just my family but yours and Mom's too, I retorted. And if you had told me about her condition, I would have been here more. I would have helped. Would you? Really? Because from where I sit, it looks like you've been happy to throw money at the problem and call it a day. The accusation stung, partly because there was a grain of truth to it. I had used financial support as a substitute for time and presence. That's not fair, Dave. I've been trying to keep this whole family afloat, while building your little empire, sure. I took a deep breath, refusing to be baited into another argument. Show me her medical records, her prescriptions. I want to understand exactly what we're dealing with. Dave hesitated. I don't have them here. You're her caretaker and power of attorney. You should have copies of everything. A flicker of something crossed Dave's face. Guilt? Fear? Who said I have power of attorney? Don't you? You said you take her to all her appointments. You're managing her care. Well, yeah, but officially, there's no paperwork yet. Something didn't add up. So who makes her medical decisions? Who has access to her accounts? Dave shifted uncomfortably. I handle her finances. She added me to her accounts years ago. All of her accounts? The main ones. A suspicion began forming in my mind. Show me her bank statements. What? No, that's private. Not if you're misusing her funds. Dave's face darkened. How dare you accuse me? Then prove me wrong. Show me where my support payments have been going. Show me her medical expenses, her household costs. I don't have to prove anything to you. Actually, you do. I pulled out my phone and opened my email. Because I have power of attorney. Dave's face went pale. What? Mom signed it 3 years ago, when she was still lucid. After the second time, she missed a mortgage payment. She was afraid of making financial mistakes, so she signed a durable power of attorney naming me as her agent. I showed him the document on my phone. I've never used it because I wanted to respect her independence. But if you're mismanaging her finances while keeping her medical condition from me, that changes things. Dave stood up, his hands clenched into fists. You're bluffing. Call Stan Peterson at Peterson, Williams and Associates. He'll confirm it. The color drained from Dave's face as he realized I was telling the truth. Silas, you don't understand. Then help me understand, Dave. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been taking my money, managing Mom's finances without proper authority, and making unilateral decisions about her care, while excluding me and my family. Dave sank back into the chair, suddenly looking exhausted. It's not what you think. Then what is it? He ran his hands over his face. Things have been tough, okay? The job market's been brutal. Pamela refused to downsize or change the kids' schools. The bills kept piling up. And then Mom started getting worse. So you used her accounts? Money I sent for her care? Just to bridge some gaps. I was going to pay it back. How much, Dave? He wouldn't meet my eyes. I don't know exactly. Ballpark. Maybe. 70,000. I felt physically ill. $70,000? Of Mom's money? Our inheritance, technically, he mumbled. Money I sent for her care is not your inheritance, Dave. It's elder abuse and financial fraud. He looked up sharply. I would never abuse Mom. I love her. I've been here for her while you've been building your business. While stealing her money, I corrected. Money meant for her medical care, her living expenses. I didn't steal it, he insisted. I borrowed it. And I used some of it for her. The new furniture, the renovations, which I already paid for separately, I reminded him. That's double dipping, Dave. And it's illegal. The full gravity of the situation seemed to finally hit him. Are you going to tell her? I don't want to upset her today. It's Christmas. But yes, we're going to have to address this. All of it. What does that mean? It means I'm invoking the power of attorney effective immediately. I'm taking control of Mom's finances and medical decisions, and you're going to pay back every cent you took. Dave's expression hardened. Or what? Or I'll file charges for elder financial abuse. It's a felony, Dave. You wouldn't do that to your own brother. I don't want to, but I will if I have to. This isn't just about money. This is about Mom getting proper care, and about my children not being manipulated and excluded because Pamela thinks they're too loud. Dave slumped in defeat. She'll leave me if she finds out. She already thinks I'm a failure. Despite everything, I felt a pang of sympathy for my brother. I'm not looking to destroy your marriage, Dave, but things have to change. Now, what do you want me to do? First, you're going to tell me everything. All the accounts, all the transactions, all the medical information. Then we're going to create a proper care plan for Mom, with appropriate monitoring and transparency. A knock at the door interrupted us. Ashley poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but there's something you both should see. We followed her back to the living room. My mother was sitting on the couch, looking through a photo album with Lily and Tyler. She was smiling, pointing at pictures and telling stories. For a moment, she seemed like her old self. Who's that? Tyler asked, pointing at a photo. That's your daddy when he was about your age, Mom replied, her voice warm with memory. And that's Uncle Dave. They were inseparable back then. Dave and I exchanged a glance, momentarily united by the shared memory. "They look happy," Lily observed. "Oh, they were," Mom said. "Your grandfather used to say they were two sides of the same coin. Different, but part of the same whole." As I watched this tender scene, I realized that despite everything, there was still a family worth fighting for here. My mother needed proper care. My brother needed accountability. But most of all, my children needed their grandmother and extended family in their lives. The path forward wouldn't be easy. But as I looked around the room at the Christmas tree, the scattered wrapping paper, and the faces of the people I loved, I knew what I had to do. And that's when I noticed something that stopped me cold. On the side table next to where Pamela was sitting was a stack of official-looking papers. The top document was clearly visible, a deed transfer form with my mother's shaky signature at the bottom. Dave wasn't just taking money from her accounts. He and Pamela were trying to transfer ownership of the house that I legally owned. The revelation left me speechless. This wasn't just financial mismanagement or poor judgment. This was calculated fraud, and suddenly, all the pieces fell into place. The reason they didn't want us here for Christmas, the reason they'd kept Mom's condition secret. They weren't just taking advantage of her diminished capacity, they were actively exploiting it, and I had all the proof I needed sitting right there on the side table. The room seemed to spin around me as I processed what I was seeing. The deed transfer documents were partially obscured, but I could clearly see my mother's signature and the property address. Pamela noticed me staring and quickly covered the papers with a magazine. Too late. I excused myself and stepped outside, needing a moment to collect my thoughts. The cold December air helped clear my head. This wasn't just about Christmas dinner anymore. This wasn't even about my children being excluded. This was elder abuse, plain and simple, perpetrated by my own brother and his wife. I pulled out my phone and called Stan. "It's Christmas, Silas," he answered, sounding surprised. "Is everything all right?" "No," I replied, keeping my voice low. "I need your help. Urgently. Dave and Pamela are trying to transfer the deed to Mom's house, the house I legally own." "That's impossible without your signature," Stan said. "Unless, is your mother trying to claim she still owns it?" "No. I think they're exploiting her condition. She has early-stage dementia, Stan. They've kept it from me for months, and now I find transfer documents with her signature." Stan's tone shifted immediately from holiday cheer to professional concern. "That's a serious allegation, Silas. Do you have proof of her condition?" Dave admitted it, "and I have the power of attorney we prepared 3 years ago." "The one you never filed?" "Right. We need to file it immediately. And you need to secure any evidence of financial exploitation, bank statements, transfer documents, anything you can legally access. The transfer documents are right here in the living room. Don't do anything rash," Stan cautioned. "Don't accuse them directly yet. Gather information first." "What about Mom?" "She's confused, vulnerable. They've been making decisions for her, spending money I sent for her care. We can file for an emergency guardianship hearing, but not today. For now, just make sure she's safe. Don't confront Dave and Pamela until we have all our ducks in a row." I agreed and ended the call, then texted Ashley, "Need to talk. Meet me outside." A few minutes later, Ashley joined me on the front porch, wrapping her coat tightly around herself. "What's going on? You look like you've seen a ghost." I explained what I'd discovered, watching her expression shift from confusion to shock to anger. "That's criminal," she said when I finished. "They're taking advantage of your mother's mental state to steal her house. Your house." "I know. And I bet they've been siphoning money from her accounts for a long time. Money I provided for her care. What are you going to do?" Stan says to gather evidence first, not to confront them directly yet. Ashley nodded thoughtfully. "Smart. If you accuse them now, they might destroy evidence, or try to turn your mother against you." "Exactly. But I can't just sit there through Christmas dinner pretending everything's fine." "You don't have to. Focus on your mom and the kids. Be present for them. We can deal with Dave and Pamela later." I took a deep breath. "You're right. Mom and the kids deserve a good Christmas. They're the priority right now." We returned inside to find the family gathering for dessert. My mother had been repositioned at the head of the table, looking slightly disoriented by all the activity around her. The children were chattering excitedly about the presents they'd opened, their earlier wariness forgotten. I took a seat beside my mother and gently covered her hand with mine. "Are you enjoying Christmas, Mom?" She smiled, a genuine smile that reached her eyes. "It's wonderful to have everyone here. I'm so glad you came after all." The simple statement, delivered with such sincerity, nearly broke my heart. She had no recollection of the text message uninviting us, no awareness of the tension and manipulation swirling around her. "Me too, Mom. There's nowhere else we'd rather be." Across the table, Pamela watched our exchange with narrowed eyes. Dave looked nervous, repeatedly checking his phone under the table. Aunt Caroline served pie, making a show of giving the largest pieces to Lily and Tyler. "Such lovely children," she cooed insincerely. "So well behaved." "They always are," I replied pointedly. "Never too loud for family gatherings." Caroline had the grace to look embarrassed. Dave cleared his throat awkwardly. "So, Silas, how's business?" "Thriving," I replied evenly. "We just secured the Miller development contract. 30 high-end homes breaking ground in the spring." That's great," Dave said, his enthusiasm clearly forced. "It means I'll be even better positioned to help with Mom's care," I added, watching his reaction carefully. "Speaking of which, I'd love to review her care plan with her doctors. Get a better understanding of what we're dealing with." Dave's knife clattered against his plate. "Like I said, it's under control. Still, as family, I want to be involved, especially since I've been covering her medical expenses." My mother looked confused. "Medical expenses? Am I sick?" The table fell silent. Dave shot me a warning look, but I ignored it. "You've been having some memory issues, Mom," I said gently. "Nothing too serious, but we want to make sure you're getting the best care possible." "Oh," she said vaguely. "I do forget things sometimes." "We all do," I assured her. "But it's important to have regular checkups and the right support." "Your father always handled all that," she said, drifting into the past again. "He was so organized." "Yes, he was," I agreed. "And now we're going to make sure you're taken care of, just like he would have wanted." Dave abruptly stood up. "I need to make a call. Business matter." He left the room, and Pamela quickly followed. I could hear their urgent whispers from the hallway. Caroline attempted to fill the awkward silence. "Who wants coffee with their pie? Or perhaps a liqueur?" While she bustled about with the coffee service, I slipped into the living room and quickly took photos of the deed transfer documents with my phone, making sure to capture my mother's signature and the date, which was just 2 days ago. Then I returned to the table before Pamela could catch me. The rest of dessert passed in strained conversation. The children, full of sugar and excitement, began to get restless. Ashley suggested they go play with their new toys in the living room, which gave me an opportunity to speak with my mother more directly. "Mom," I began carefully, "I noticed some papers on the side table. Something about the house?" She looked confused again. "Papers?" "Yes, it looked like a deed transfer." "Oh, that." Dave said it was just some routine paperwork, to protect the house. "Protect it from what?" "From, I don't remember exactly. Taxes, I think. Dave handles all that now." "I see. And you trust Dave completely?" "Of course," she said, sounding momentarily lucid. "He's my son." "So am I, Mom." Her eyes clouded over briefly, then cleared. "I know that, Silas. You've always been such a good boy, so responsible." From the hallway, I heard Dave's voice rising in what sounded like panic. "What do you mean it won't go through? We have all the signatures." I excused myself and followed the sound of the conversation. Dave was in the kitchen, his back to me, phone pressed to his ear. "It has to be processed today," he was saying urgently. "We discussed this. The fees have been paid. What more do you need?" I cleared my throat loudly. Dave whirled around, his face draining of color when he saw me. "I'll call you back," he said into the phone, then ended the call. "Silas, I was just trying to push through a fraudulent property transfer on Christmas Day." I finished for him. His eyes widened. I don't know what you're talking about. Save it, Dave. I saw the documents. I know Mom has dementia. I know you've been exploiting her condition. It's not like that, he protested weakly. Then what is it like? Explain it to me. Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you and Pamela are committing elder abuse and fraud. Before he could respond, Pamela entered the kitchen. Dave, what's going on? Silas knows, he said simply. Pamela's expression hardened. Knows what? That we're trying to protect your mother's assets? That we've been caring for her while you've been off building your empire? Is that what you call forging transfer documents and stealing from her accounts? Protection? We didn't steal anything, Pamela snapped. And those documents are perfectly legal. Your mother signed them willingly. My mother has dementia, I said flatly. Any documents she signed recently are suspect at best, fraudulent at worst. Especially documents attempting to transfer property that isn't hers to transfer. Pamela looked confused. What are you talking about? This house has been in your family for generations, and it still is. But the deed is in my name. Has been for 3 years, when I paid off the underwater mortgage that was about to go into foreclosure. Mom doesn't own this house. I do. The shock on their faces would have been comical under different circumstances. That's impossible, Dave sputtered. Mom would have told us, would she? When you've both made it clear you resent any financial help from me? When you've been pretending to everyone that you're doing fine on your own? Pamela recovered first, her expression calculating. Even if that's true, your mother has been living here for years. She has rights as a tenant. Absolutely, I agreed. I've never disputed that. I bought the house so she could continue living here without worry. But that doesn't give you the right to try to transfer the deed using her diminished capacity. You can't prove any of this, Dave said, but his voice lacked conviction. Actually, I can. I have the original deed. I have records of every payment. And now I have photos of the fraudulent transfer documents you tried to push through today. Dave's face crumpled. Silas, please. You don't understand. We're underwater on everything. The credit cards, the car loans. The kids' tuition is due next month. We needed a way out. So you decided to steal from our mother? To exploit her condition? To exclude my children from Christmas so I wouldn't discover what you were doing? That wasn't the reason, Pamela insisted. The kids really are too loud for her. In her condition, she gets agitated easily. Yet she's sitting out there now, perfectly content with both children beside her, I pointed out. The only thing agitating her is your deception. Dave sank into a kitchen chair. What are you going to do? That depends on you. Here's what happens next. You return every penny you took from Mom's accounts. You turn over all her medical records and financial documents to me. And you step aside and let me handle her care going forward. And if we refuse, Pamela challenged, then I file charges for elder abuse and fraud. I evict you from any properties I own where you're living, and I stop covering your kids' tuition, your car payments, and any other expenses I've been quietly handling. The color drained from Pamela's face. You wouldn't. Try me. Dave looked up, defeat written across his features. What about Mom? Where will she live? She'll stay right here, where she's comfortable, but with proper care from now on. Care that I'll arrange and monitor. And us? That's up to you. If you cooperate fully, pay back what you took, and commit to being the son and daughter-in-law she deserves, then you'll still be part of her life. If not, I let the implication hang in the air. Dave and Pamela exchanged a long look, some unspoken communication passing between them. We need time to think, Pamela finally said. Take all the time you need, I replied. But the fraudulent transfer stops today, and I'm invoking my power of attorney immediately. I pulled the document from my briefcase and placed it on the table between us. This gives me legal authority to make decisions regarding Mom's care and finances. It was signed 3 years ago, when she was still fully competent. Dave stared at the document, then at me. You've had this all along? Why didn't you use it? Because I wanted to trust you, Dave. I wanted to believe you had Mom's best interests at heart. For the first time, genuine shame crossed his face. I do. Things just got out of hand. Well, They're back in hand now. My hand. From the dining room, we heard my mother call out, "Is anyone going to bring me more pie?" The normalcy of the request broke the tension. Dave actually laughed, a short, desperate sound. "One thing at a time," I said, softening my tone slightly. "Right now, let's just get through Christmas. For Mom's sake. For the kids. We can sort out the details tomorrow." Dave nodded slowly. "Okay. For Mom." For Mom, I agreed. As we rejoined the family at the table, carrying extra slices of pie, I caught Ashley's questioning glance. I gave her a subtle nod, letting her know things were under control. The worst of the confrontation was over, at least for today. My mother beamed as I set a slice of apple pie in front of her. "My favorite. How did you know?" "I remember, Mom," I said gently, "just like I remember everything you taught me about taking care of family." For just a moment, perfect clarity shone in her eyes. "You were always listening, weren't you? Even when I thought you weren't." "Always, Mom. And I still am." She patted my hand. "Good boy. Now, who wants to sing carols after dessert?" As the family gradually shifted from tension to an uneasy truce, I watched my children interact with their grandmother. Despite everything, there was genuine love there. And that, more than any legal document or financial arrangement, was worth fighting for. The evening wound down with reluctant goodbyes. I had achieved what I came for. I had protected my mother, confronted the deception, and most importantly, ensured my children weren't excluded from their family heritage. But as we drove home through the snowy streets, I knew the real work was just beginning. "What happens now?" Ashley asked quietly, after the kids had fallen asleep in the back seat. "Now we rebuild," I replied, "on a foundation of truth this time." 1 year later, our family gathered around a different Christmas table. My dining room was decorated with twinkling lights, evergreen boughs, and the handmade ornaments the children had created throughout the year. The table was set with my mother's china, carefully transported from her house when we had helped her move. After discovering the extent of Dave and Pamela's financial exploitation, I had made the difficult decision to move my mother into a memory care facility specializing in dementia patients. The doctors had confirmed what Dave finally admitted. Her condition was more advanced than they had let on. She needed professional care beyond what any of us could provide at home. At first, she had resisted the move, clinging to the familiar surroundings of the house she'd lived in for decades. But the structure and routine of the facility had actually improved her condition. With proper medication, cognitive therapy, and consistent care, her lucid periods had become more frequent and longer lasting. "More potatoes, Mom?" I asked, passing the bowl to where she sat beside me. She nodded, smiling. "Thank you, Silas. Everything is delicious." Across the table, Lily and Tyler were on their best behavior, but still bubbling with the excitement of Christmas. They had developed a special bond with their grandmother over the past year, visiting her regularly at the care facility, bringing her artwork, and singing the songs she taught them from her own childhood. "Grandma, can we open presents after dinner?" Tyler asked hopefully. "That's up to your parents," she replied, her voice stronger and more present than it had been in years. The conspicuous absences at the table were Dave and Pamela. After the confrontation last Christmas, things had gotten worse before they got better. Dave had initially agreed to my terms, but Pamela had balked, even threatening legal action. In the end, the evidence against them was too overwhelming. They had repaid most of what they had taken from my mother's accounts, but our relationship remained strained. They had moved to Arizona in the spring, after Pamela found a new job. Dave was still struggling professionally, but he called our mother weekly. He wasn't ready to face me yet, but I had hope that time would eventually heal that wound. My Aunt Caroline, surprisingly, had made amends more readily. After the truth came out about my financial support of the family, she had been genuinely remorseful about her role in the deception. She was spending Christmas in Florida this year, but had sent thoughtful gifts for everyone, including a generous donation to my mother's care facility. "Penny, for your thoughts," Ashley said, noticing my momentary distraction. "Just reflecting," I replied, "on how different things are from last year." She squeezed my hand under the table. "For the better, definitely for the better." After dinner, we moved to the living room for presents. My mother sat in a comfortable armchair, a handmade quilt over her knees, watching with clear eyes as the children tore into their gifts. When it was her turn, she unwrapped each present carefully, genuinely touched by the thoughtfulness behind each one. The last gift was from me. She opened it slowly, revealing a photo album I'd spent months compiling. Inside were pictures from throughout her life, each one labeled with names and dates to help her hold on to her memories. "Oh, Silas," she whispered, her eyes filling with tears as she turned the pages. "This is the most precious gift." "I thought it might help," I said, sitting beside her. "The doctors said familiar images can strengthen memory pathways." "It's not just that," she said, touching a photo of my father holding me as a baby. "It's the love that went into it. The time." She looked up at me. "That's what I regret most, you know. Not seeing how much you did for us. Taking you for granted." "Mom, you don't need to." "Yes, I do. I may forget many things these days, but I remember how I let Dave and Pamela convince me that you were too busy for us, that your success somehow made you less family rather than more. I was wrong, Silas. So wrong." I blinked back unexpected tears. "What matters is now, Mom. We're here now." She nodded, then turned to a more recent photo of herself with Lily and Tyler at the care facility. "They visit me every week, you know, even when you can't make it. They read to me, tell me about school. Such good children. Never too loud?" I teased gently. She laughed, a sound I had feared I might never hear again. "Oh, they're perfectly loud, just as children should be." Later, after my mother had been driven back to the care facility by her professional caregiver, after the children had finally gone to bed, exhausted from the excitement of the day, Ashley and I sat together in the quiet of our living room. "You did it," she said softly. "You saved your mother. You protected our family. You even managed to help Dave and Pamela despite everything." "We did it," I corrected her. "I couldn't have gotten through this without you." She leaned her head on my shoulder. "What about the house? Have you decided what to do with it?" I had been wrestling with that question for months. My mother's house, my childhood home, sat empty now. I couldn't bring myself to sell it, but maintaining it was an unnecessary expense. "I think I'm going to donate it," I said, the decision crystallizing as I spoke. There's a nonprofit that provides transitional housing for families with children undergoing long-term medical treatment. They need places near the hospital where families can stay together during the crisis. Ashley looked up at me, her eyes shining. "That's perfect. Your father would have loved that." "I think so too." I gazed around our own home, filled with the remnants of Christmas joy. This year taught me something important, something I want to make sure the kids understand too. "What's that?" "That real wealth isn't measured in houses or bank accounts, or even in what you can provide for others materially. Real wealth is in how you treat people, especially the vulnerable ones in your care." "Your mother knows that now," Ashley said. "I can see it in the way she looks at you." It was a hard lesson for all of us, but worth learning. The house fell silent except for the occasional crackle of the dying fire. Outside, snow had begun to fall again, blanketing the world in clean white. A fresh start, a new chapter. "Merry Christmas, Silas," Ashley whispered. "Merry Christmas," I replied, holding her close and feeling, for the first time in a very long while, that all was right with the world. The next morning, I received a text message that I hadn't dared hope for. It was from Dave. "Merry Christmas, brother. I'm sorry for everything. Maybe we can talk soon?" As I looked at my sleeping children, at my wife making coffee in the kitchen, at the life we had built and protected, I knew what my answer would be. Family was worth fighting for, worth forgiving, worth rebuilding. That was the greatest gift of all. Have you ever had to make a difficult decision to protect your family? How did you balance compassion with necessary boundaries? Please share your thoughts in the comments below. And if this story resonated with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear this message today. Thank you for being part of this journey, and may your holidays be filled with genuine love and family harmony.